this is really exciting. Hassan is one of like my favorite humans, probably one of the smartest people I know. And that's saying a lot because we know some really smart people. He likes to collect degrees. So he's got an MBA from Harvard, he's got, 3 other degrees. I'll let him explain a little bit more about how his mind works. He does magic on the side. And he is also writing a book, which we are all very excited to read once it comes out. And is currently, one of the top coaches and, participating in creating curriculum for the Flow Institute. So he is a all-around Flow Research Institute. Yes, I always mess it up. So he is here today to really kind of blow our brains in decision making. Decision making is one of the hardest parts of operations in terms of, if we think about operations, everything is a decision tree, right? Like, how you do steps, how you decide to actually, hand something off, right? Like everything starts with decisions. Some of them are, low level, low risk decisions. Some are much higher level, right? We have talked before about the quantification of like a $5 decision versus a $5 million decision. So the stakes get higher and higher as your team gets bigger and bigger. And he's gonna take it off, right? And so you'll share with us this. And one of the things that I know I will have at the end, so we'll start and we'll end on the hour if you guys want to hang out for a little bit. I know Hassan has graciously said that he can stay for a little bit more Q&A.
You probably want to throw things at me because I'm going to break your minds a little bit today.
Okay, cool. We love throwing stuff. We'll throw digital stuff.
Kick it off?
Yeah, kick it off. Go for it. You got the floor.
It's a pleasure to meet all of you. This is going to be really interactive. So if you thought you were coming to a passive 1 hour to sit back and just enjoy, that's probably not going to happen. I'm going to call on you because I'm going to notice which ones of you are going to be just sitting back and which ones of you are just going to be actually wanting to dive in. But I'm excited to dive into with you all to this topic. And I always say this, it's going to be a really fun session. But when I teach this class and I teach it for the first time, I always say this, and I mean it. It's not an exaggeration. Today is going to change the way you see the world. And it's a pretty lofty ambition, and it's a pretty lofty thing to say. We've only got an hour, but bear with me because, like I said, I'm going to break your minds a little bit. I'm going to open you up to a new way of thinking and give you some tools to help you not only become a better decision maker, but think about how you frame decisions for other people. Right? So I want you to think about this. I'm going to throw this question out to all of you, and thank you, Juliana, for that lovely and kind introduction. How do you make decisions in your life? Like, just ask yourself that question now. Are you a good decision maker? How many of you have even thought about how you make decisions in your life? Have you ever even asked yourself this question? Tanya, I'm going to ask you, have you ever asked yourself whether or not you're a good decision maker? Or how you make decisions as well. How do I make decisions?
I definitely know how I make decisions. But I guess most likely I would say I have a good batting average.
Okay, that's good, right? So maybe we'll try and get that batting average up. Alex, what about you? You ever thought about how you make decisions, whether or not you're a good decision maker?
I feel like I've thought about it lightly and not deeply. And I would say mostly intuitive. Yeah.
Because that's what everyone does, Alex. Beautiful. Most people, they don't think about this at all. They just choose, they decide, they take action and then just do it. Right? Whatever they feel in the moment, whatever they think is right. Right? They might process it intuitively, but they just do it. Now, I want you to think about this, even asking yourself this question about whether or not you're a good decision maker. Tanya said she's got a reasonable batting average. What's your batting average? In your love life, at home, professionally? How successful would you say you've been when it comes to your decisions? Because the way I look at this is that you might have even been successful, but that batting average isn't 1,000, Tanya, right? We get things wrong. What I'm interested in is why we get it wrong so often. Why do we get it wrong so often? And I have spent a large part of my life, not just collecting degrees, like Juliana made fun of me for, but exploring how and why people make decisions, right? And trying to understand how human perception works and the various ways in which it can be subtly influenced right? How it can be nudged, how it can be kind of cajoled. And I've always been fascinated by how seemingly small things and features in decision-making environments could have a massive impact on other people's behavior. This curiosity and fascination began with my love of magic, right? So I'm a magician as well, which gives another secret away. I'm a massive nerd, and I'm a magician. I've been a magician since I was a kid, and it's being a magician, it's magic that made me want to learn about and study the quirks of human nature and perception and why we do the things that we do. And that's what we're all going to be diving into on this call, in this session today. And I promise you, again, it's going to be a lot of fun. My sessions, I always want to coat them in fun, and you're going to get the same today. We're going to play some decision-making games. We're going to go through some exercises, and I'm going to explain some things that you might not have thought of. Before we do this, I'm actually going to show you a magic trick. Even Juliana didn't know that I was going to do this. And what I want you to do, I'm going to give you some instructions here. I want you to sit back and watch the video that's going to be played on the screen, right? You got specific instructions. Watch this video, and I want you to choose a card based on what you see on the screen. So you're going to see a video that's going to flick through some cards. I want you to watch really closely, really carefully, and choose one based on what you see on the screen. Got it? Does that make sense for everybody? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Perfect. I like this. We've got a really attentive audience. Juliana, I like your crew. All right, so again, let's watch this.
They're a great crew.
Yeah, I can see that. I love how attentive you all are. Let's watch this video. And again, your job is to pick a card based on what you see. So just bear with me while I share my screen. Juliana, I don't think I can share my screen. I'm not able to. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Just bear with me. There's always some teething issues when it comes to Zoom, but just bear with me. There we go. It's showing up now. Thumbs up, Juliana. You can see that? Okay. Watch the video. Your job is to pick a card again. Here we go. See, I normally do that. I could do that again, but then that would have meant that you weren't following the instructions. I want to give you one chance, right, to do that. And you should be thinking about that card right now. You got it? You're thinking of that card. I want you to say it in your head. And if you're on mute, say it out loud, right? I won't be able to see your mouth move. I won't be able to tell or determine what the card is. But what I am going to do is I'm hopefully going to guess what that card is that you chose. And I'm going to throw something out. I want to guess the card that you chose that you're thinking of. Is it the Queen of Hearts for anybody? Queen of Hearts? That's a lot of people who had their hands up. And the rest of you, I'm not going to be talking to you for the rest of class. I don't know why you're so strange or what's weird about you folks, but there's something really strange about you. And I just want to point that out to everybody. Those who didn't choose the Queen of Hearts, be wary of those people. I'm kidding, by the way, but that's really interesting. I would say maybe 50%, Juliana. It's tough on Zoom. It's tough on screen because there's some lag. There's always some connection issues. Every time I do this, right, most people, they're going to be choosing the Queen of Hearts. It's normally, when I do this in person, it's 90 to 95% of people choose Queen of Hearts. Right? And less than 5% will have chosen something different. How do I know this? What's going on here? How did I know that the majority of people are going to choose the Queen of Hearts? Anybody have any guesses? Jump in, Tanya.
Because it was at the end.
I like the way you're thinking. It wasn't actually at the end. It wasn't at the end. It was kind of in the middle end, but it wasn't at the end.
Through. It stopped for a little bit longer than everything else did.
You think it stopped for long? That's your guess, right?
That was my guess. Yes.
Interesting. Anybody else?
I felt like I saw it twice or something.
Oh, I like the way your brain works. Magicians wouldn't do that to you, Cam. Magicians wouldn't do that. How long it showed and the fact that it was red. Oh, I like this. We can talk about this at the end for those nerds, but in a deck of cards, there's certain cards that people are going to choose more than others. Right? And I can design a scenario and a situation that increases the likelihood of you choosing a certain card. But again, that's a pretty cool trick, but it's not the essence of what I'm trying to get at here. What if I told you, based on kind of these design principles, that human beings are predictable in the things that they do, how they see and how they respond to what's in front of them? And What if I told you that you're predictable? And I knew what you would choose in this particular scenario. I knew that you'd choose the Queen of Hearts. That's why I designed it that way. And here's what's really interesting. What if I told you that you can learn all of this too? Would you be interested in giving yourself this magical power? I know Juliana's sitting there like the evil genius going, yeah, absolutely. Of course you would be. But here's the thing, Juliana, I'm not talking about the magic trick here. Although anyone who is interested, I can teach you how to do that. Come with me with a night out and I'll show you in front of 20 different people. We'll get it right 19 out of 20 times. I can teach you how to do that. Now you learn a little bit of card dexterity, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about learning how human beings think and how they make decisions. How I knew that you would choose the Queen of Hearts. Like how human beings choose how they behave. How the subtlest of suggestions and the gentlest of persuasions can influence the human mind. But influence the human mind predictably. And that's the really key and beautiful part. You see, every single one of us, every single one of you on the call right now, we make hundreds of decisions every day. Decisions like, and such as what clothes to wear, what to have for lunch. First thing that Juliana spoke about when I entered the call was the color of my shirt. That was a decision to wear this shirt or to not wear something else. What to have for lunch, what TV show to watch. And we also make more serious and less trivial decisions too, like what marketing strategy to follow, what operations advice to follow, what job to take, which person to hire, what area to live in, what person to marry. And most people think that they're discerning decision makers. Tanya said she's pretty good, got a pretty decent batting average. Most people think that they're logical and rational when it comes to how they think and when making judgments, that they know what's best for them. I promise you, folks, the reality is something entirely and quite different. The reality and truth is that every single one of us, we're irrational when it comes to our decision making. We make lots of mistakes in the things that we do, and this is because we're often influenced by cognitive biases and the subtle yet seemingly insignificant way things are presented to us, like you've just seen with this magic trick. And this is what gets in the way of us being an effective decision maker, making effective decisions. Our biases distort the way we see the world, and this leads to errors in judgment and the way that we think. Errors in the way that we think. The traps are all around us. They're everywhere in the world around us. And we're constantly led astray by the world around us, by cognitive loopholes that come from our environment, our conditioning, our histories. We get sidetracked. We're overconfident. We have blind spots. We're susceptible to how information is presented to us, and we're influenced by what other people are doing. Now, let me share my screen and we'll get into it, because I want to talk about the work that Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky did a number of years ago. So the groundbreaking work of Daniel Kahneman, he won a Nobel Prize for his work in this space, in and around behavioral economics, and the Nobel Prize for economics in around like kind of 2005. And him and Amos Tversky, they first explored and uncovered these insights, right? And they found that our intuition as human beings is flawed and it's fallible. Now, Kahneman describes our decision-making process in terms of two decision-making systems. There's system one, which is the experiential system, the one that you see on the left, and system two, which is the analytical system, the one on the right. Now, system one thinking refers to our guts, our intuition, our intuitive system. It's typically fast, it's automatic, it's effortless, it's implicit, it's emotional. Now, we make most decisions in life using system one thinking. So, for instance, we usually decide how to interpret verbal language or visual information automatically and unconsciously. By contrast, system two refers to reasoning that is slower. It's conscious, it's effortful, it's explicit, it's logical. Now, in most situations, our system one thinking, our system one processing is sufficient. It's going to be quite sufficient because, think about it, it's not practical to reason through every single choice that we're going to make or that we have to make while shopping for groceries. We don't need to logically think and reason through every decision that we have to make in our lives. So, for example, what to wear when we wake up, what color t-shirt to wear when we're teaching, or what we're going to eat for breakfast. Those things, they don't require much effortful or deliberate thinking, right? Our shortcuts, they're often helpful and they allow us to navigate through many situations without having to use up or expend too much energy or effort. So for example, I'll throw this out and someone come off mute, or I'll ask you, maybe I'll ask Rick if his, oh, Rick, I can't see his face. So I'll ask Anna. Anna, what do we do at a traffic light when we see a red light?
Hopefully we stop.
We stop. I hope we stop. Maybe you were one of those people who didn't choose the Queen of Hearts.
No, that's the yellow.
Okay. We stop, right? We immediately know that we stop. Thank you, Anna. That's our shortcut rule of thumb, and it's unconscious. It just happens. But Anna, here's what's really, really interesting, right? We heavily rely on our system one thinking. And part of that is because of the frantic pace of our lives. The world is so busy, so much going on around us. 90 to 95% of the decisions that we make in our everyday lives are made with our system one mode of thinking. We rely on our guts, we rely on our intuition 90 to 95% of the time. Right? 90 to 95% of the time. And because our intuition is flawed, that's what leads us astray. That's what gets us into trouble. Our guts get us into trouble. Let me give you an example, right? And you might have seen this example before, but if I was to ask you, which tabletop is the longer, skinnier tabletop? Which one would you choose? This is not a trick question. Which one looks like the longer, skinnier tabletop? It's number one, right? Anna's saying number one. Let's put the finger up if we think it's number one. Right? Most of us, we should be saying number one. Otherwise, I need to be worried about you folks as well. It's number one, right? Based on our referential dependence, based on our spatial awareness, we see that looks like the longer, thinner one. The other one looks a bit clunky. It looks a bit round. It's the one on the left, the number one, right? You probably are thinking that's a very easy decision. That's our system one mode of thinking at work, right? That's our guts. That's our intuition. But it turns out, if I was to grab a piece of paper and trace around both tabletops and then line them up, you would see how our intuition has failed you, how your intuition has failed you. They're exactly the same length. They're exactly the same length. Now, even the brightest people make judgmental errors on a regular basis. We're biased. All of us, we're susceptible to traps. And because our system one mode of thinking is automatic and can't consciously be turned off, our intuitive errors are often difficult to prevent. And we do things that aren't intelligent, logical, or sensible. Here's why all of this is so important. You might be thinking, all right, this is cool, but why is it important? Well, if we can understand and recognize our limitations and where we go wrong, where we might be led astray, and gain knowledge as to how they work and where they come from, we can not only understand ourselves in greater depth, but we can also learn to recognize situations in which we're likely to make mistakes or where other people are making mistakes. You see, there's a pattern to the things that people do and say. Understanding that pattern, recognizing it, knowing it, understanding it could be one of the most powerful gifts you ever receive. The most powerful gifts you ever receive. Right? And I'm going to help you understand this pattern today over the next 60 minutes with some examples. Let me give you another visual example, right? This is something called the Adelson checker illusion. And it involves a basic checkerboard with a cylinder on one side casting a shadow over the squares. If I was to ask you, which is the darker square, A or B, what would you say? A or B? Juliana, which one? It's pretty simple, right?
I'm like, I don't want to make a choice right now.
No, you have to make a choice.
A is the darker one.
Of course, it's the darker one. Are you crazy? It's got to be the darker one. We compare them, and it's quite clear. Look at it. A is the darker one, and the way it's the checkers work, it's darker. Of course, it is. Mm-hmm. The thing is, Juliana, it's not. A and B are exactly and almost unbelievably the same shade. Exactly the same shade. And this is something that happens to all of us, right? We're very good at making relative judgments, comparing things next to each other, but we're not so good at making absolute judgments. When the two squares are compared side by side, we can easily see that they're the same shade. But when the other squares are shown and thrown into the mix, we're not able to process those two squares in the same way because the other squares, they're factored in. They process, or they help us, or they make us process those two squares in a different way. You might be thinking, okay, this is really cool. I like that. It's a really cool visual illusion, but how does it relate to my life? Or to real life, to the real world, to the things that I do in the real world, to my business even? What relevance does this have to the things that I have to do, the things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis? Is this something I'm really impacted by? Well, this is what I've been building up to, right? Let me show you. And let me put it in a way, in a context that again, could change the way you see and present things to other people forever. If you're a business person, right? I want you to really think about this. You have your own business, you're an entrepreneur. The way you give people a chance to make choices, I'm going to change the way you see that forever. And I want you to be thinking through the lens of what you do and what you offer, whether it's a service offering, whether it's a product offering. Okay, so this is a real life example and a real life ad that was used by The Economist magazine. So you're all familiar with The Economist magazine, right? Really cool magazine. You might not read it, but it's a popular magazine. Imagine that it's a magazine. If it's not The Economist, just imagine it's a magazine that you do read or that you do like. So this was a subscription offer that they advertised in their magazine. And it's an example that Dan Ariely uses in his fantastic book, Predictably Irrational. And I'm sure you've seen dozens of similar subscription offers, like in the newspapers you read, in other magazines, maybe even your gym does something similar, offers a subscription offer similar to this or like this. So in this offer, readers can get an online subscription for $59. They can get a print subscription for $125, or they can get a print and online subscription for $125. Again, let me say this. Let's assume this is a magazine that you'd want to read. If I was to ask you which option you'd choose, which one do you think you'd go with? Have a think. Which one do you think you'd go with? So it's 3 for Anna. Tanya, like put some numbers up. I'll ask you, what about you, Brian? Which one do you think? Jan is saying number 1. Brian, which one? Number 1. Who else we got? What about you, Allo? Yeah, what about you, Katie? Kristen is saying number 3. Katie's saying number 3. Okay, so we've got a good range of people, but a lot of people are going, most people I'm seeing are going with number 3. Most people are going with number 3. I would go with number 3 as well. And I probably shouldn't tell you this because we're just kind of getting to know each other, but I need to go with number 3 because I need the hard copy when I'm on the toilet, right? I need the hard copy when I'm on the toilet. I want to sit there and read it. And I see, Anna, you and I cut from the same cloth. That's exactly what you need it for as well. And so Dan Ariely, he tested his graduate students with this question. And 84% of his graduate students, 84% of people would choose the print and web version for $125, like most of us chose, option 3. Here's what's interesting. Nobody would choose the 125 print-only choice. But again, why would you choose the print-only option when for the same price, you can have the digital version? So nobody chose that option in the middle, and 16% would have chosen and chose the web-only option. So this is very similar to the percentages that I get when I ask this question in the programs that I teach. Right? Again, I'll say this, who wouldn't want both digital and hard copy? You can read physical magazine when you sit on the toilet, and you can also read it on your phone when you're on the train. But what if your choice was just between the $59 web-only offer and the $125 print and web option? Nobody chose the print-only option, the one in the middle. So it was the same price as the print and online option. So what if it was removed completely? Would people's choice still be the same? They should be, right? They should be. If it was just those 2 options that you see on the screen, your answers would be the same. What about you folks now? Are you still choosing what? Were you choosing 1 or 2? Who's choosing the digital subscription offer now? Show of hands, digital subscription, Jan, digital. It seems like there's a lot more digital subscriptions now than there was previously, even a minute ago. And what's staggering here is I kind of even told you what was going on, and you still chose the digital subscription. If you were like the students tested in this study, what's happens now is 68% would now choose the web-only option. People who were just presented with these 2 options, 68% of them choose the web-only option, while only 32% go for the 125 print and web, which is down from 84%. Down from 84%. Like for me, this is staggering. And it should be for you too, right? Think about this for a second. Just by including the clearly inferior print-only option, which nobody chose, right? The one in the middle here, which nobody chose, just by including that, The Economist nearly tripled the sales of its $125 web and print version. 3 times as many people chose that option than chose the option that The Economist wanted them to choose. The option that would bring in more revenue. Now think about this from the point of view of a company looking to maximize profits and shareholder revenue. So why is this the case? What's going on here? Well, the reason why this happens is because that print-only option was a decoy, employing relativity to push us towards the combination deal. Right? Relativity to push us towards the combination deal. In this first scenario and ad, $125 for print and web is obviously a better choice than $125 for just print. Now we see that these two options are similar and they're easy to compare, right? They create relative value for us. So we make our decision based on that comparison and we feel smart about our choice. We end up feeling smart about our choice as a result. And we get a better deal and better value when we go with this particular option. Now, the results here show how relativity can be, and often is, used against us. Now, we compare print only to the print and web combo because it's the simplest, most obvious and easy one to make, easiest one to make, right? Because those options were most similar to each other in substance and price. Because they were similar, they're simple to compare. And that's what we base our decision on, right? When we face easy comparisons, we forget about the greater context. We forget about the greater context, the alternative options. When there are 2 options, though, relativity is perfectly fine, right? Our decisions aren't about absolute value of choice. They're about relative alternatives. So we often go for the easy comparison. And here's the thing, folks. You can get somebody to choose the option that you want them to choose by using this principle. Marketers take advantage of this all the time. And we fall into this trap without even being aware of it. And it's big business nowadays. Menu designers are paid a lot of money to employ this kind of science in designing menus, to get people to choose the option where the restaurateurs make the biggest margin or the most expensive items. And politicians know this too. They use this trick when planning their strategies. Now we know this trick. And with this knowledge, we can look at the world slightly more objectively. And we can use this to our advantage. So for example, if you're presenting a couple of options to somebody or trying to sell 2 products, throw in a decoy option, which is similar in relative terms to the one you'd like to be chosen. Think about the myriad of ways you could use this. If you're a dentist, for example, and you believe that the most expensive treatment option is in the best interest of your patient, or if you're looking to sell a cosmetic treatment, throw in a decoy option that directs the patient and the customer to the option that you think is best for them. Right? You could throw in something for free for the higher priced option, making it more attractive than its relative comparison, just like this Economist example. There are dozens of ways that you could use this to present options or the selling of a product. And I want to ask you all now, what are some of the ways that you could use this in your work and life? Travel company recently used this, right, that I know of. They had 2 incredibly popular holiday destinations in Europe that were being sold, going to Rome or going to Paris. But they were making much larger margins on the Paris trip. Similar prices, much larger margins on the Paris trip. So they created one other option where they gave people a free breakfast in one of the options for the Paris trip. 3 options, one Paris option had a free breakfast. The majority of people chose that option. Even though nobody's really eating breakfast anyway. It's a continental breakfast. It costs $50. But people chose that. I want to throw this out to you. Give me some examples. Let's explore a few of the ways that you could use this in your work and life. Who wants to throw out an example of what they're thinking of now? And maybe my mind was blown when I first came across this. 3 times as many people chose the option that the Economist wanted them to choose just because of that decoy option. Juliana, what are you thinking when I throw this out there to you? Have you come across this before? How could you potentially use this as a business owner who's selling something?
So I will usually use this in sales where we offer, training, like our peer group model and then one-on-one. And so I anchor the price of one-on-one much higher because I know that people actually get faster results in the peer group model. And so it's to drive people to the thing that I know is actually going to get them the most results. So that's how I use it in our sales.
Yeah, so then we can come up with some really clever ways to even increase the likelihood people are going to choose that peer group model. Like give them a free bonus of something if they go with the peer group model. What are some of the other ways? I'd love to hear from one other person, somebody else. Yeah, Jen, jump in, please. I can't see everybody, so just unmute, jump in, because hopefully your mind is whirring with all of these different ideas.
We have a training element in our product, and one is digital, and then we've got Zoom, and then we can do in person. So I am thinking that we can get them to choose more training by including the digital
Jen,
option.
I'm promising you this. You don't think that it's going. I promise you it'll work. I know the research is clear on this. The data and the science is clear on this. You do this and it'll transform the way people choose that particular option. I've had dentists that I've been using this with, doctors that I've been using this, who just with a simple tweak of adding this new free electric toothbrush or whatever it was, an extra consultation, they brought in an extra 30 grand per month just by doing this. Not doing anything different, just by tweaking one offer that they were providing.
That's incredible. So
no, absolutely. And I'd love to hear how that goes when you tweak and play around with it. Let's get into and explore some more of these traps and biases, because I want to kind of break your guessing machine a couple of times more before we're finished today. So this is going to be a lot of fun. This is one of my favorite exercises. What we're going to do now is we're going to engage in a real live auction. Real life auction, real money. The winner is going to get $100 and they're going to keep this $100. I can Venmo you. I've got to get all your details. This is a real live auction and it's real money. So there's a lot at stake. There's a lot to play for. Now this auction has a number of rules, right? Rules are on the screen. The first rule is that bidding starts at $5. Silence is in effect. Bidding starts at $5. Bids can only increase by $5 at a time. Winner pays the amount of his or her final bid and gets the $100. The last rule is that the second highest bidder also pays what he or she has bid, but gets nothing in return, right? So let's play this auction. Let's have fun with it. And let's dive in like we would quick time, real time, so that we can get to the exercise and the learning. So I want you to just have fun with this. Just play, go what your gut tells you to do instinctively. And
bids, sorry, Hassan, bids are being taken in the chat, right? So
no. Unmute yourself and just jump in, say $5.
Oh, okay.
$5. Otherwise, it goes too slowly. It goes fast.
Okay, got it.
What I want to highlight, you could bid $20 and get $100. So there's a huge amount of money to be made. So let's go quickly. Who wants to start? $5. Yeah, go, jump in with your, just 50. Say $5, whoever it is, $5.
Okay, you got to do five.
10,
no, you
15.
can bid more than that, Jen. Okay.
Let's just start with 5 and we'll go. And that's why I want it to be quick.
Okay.
It goes up by 5 at a time.
$5.
We've already had 5, whoever that was.
10.
$10.
$10.
20.
20.
We got 10, we got 15.
25.
25.
30.
30.
I love the speed this is going. This
40.
is perfect. I knew this was a good group.
35.
35.
40,
40, brilliant. Let's go
45.
fast. 45.
50,
50. I don't know who that was, but
55.
55.
60.
60. This is good.
65,
Still a lot of money to be made. 65.
70.
70. I don't know who's saying this, but we've got 70.
75,
75.
80.
80. I like that.
85,
85.
I knew it. 85. Let's Aloe. We'll go 90 for you. Unless you don't. 90 for you, Aloe.
90.
90 for Aloe. 85 for Jan.
95.
Oh, 95. I can't see who's saying that, but there's 95.
That was Katie.
Oh, Katie 95. Jan's got 90. Or Aloe's got 90, I think. Which one? So Aloe, do you want to keep, and you can keep bidding, you know, you don't have to stop at 100.
100,
100 for Jan. So Katie, you're at 95.
And I can't bid twice in a row, right?
Oh no, you didn't, because Jan bid bid 95. I bid 100. So you're not bidding twice in a row.
Okay, I'll go 100.
Well, she's already bid 100, so you have to go 105.
105.
Yeah, of course you did. Jen?
110.
Yep, I knew it. Katie, you want to bid 115? You do,
I
don't
of
you?
course want to bid 115.
115 for Katie. Jen, you're not going to lose now.
120.
120. We're going to go for a little bit longer. Let's just see. This might go on for a little bit, so I'm going to maybe pause it. Katie, I'm assuming you're going to go for 125. Jan, 130. Katie, 135. Let's put a pause in this because this could go on for 200, 300. And I'm the person that's going to make a lot of money. Somebody's going to win $100, but I'm going to make a lot of money here. Let me unpack what's going on here. Let's do a quick thought exercise. And thank you all for being such incredible participants. I love the speed within which you are making your decisions. Here's what was happening here.
Wait, but someone's got to win.
Okay, so if we want to, let's stick back at the end and we can continue this auction, because Juliana, I've done this where it's gone up to 1,000 before and it just can take the rest of the call. And we've got other things
fine.
to dive into.
Okay,
So
okay.
we can finish that at the end. It's the lesson here that I want to unpack. Once I had my last two bidders, once it was Katie and once it was Jan, the bids kept going up and they keep going up. And generally, people enter this auction because they don't think about the decisions of other parties. Right? There's a lot of people that came in with a lower number and a lot of people bid. There were a number of people. Allo, we had other people bidding. Imagine you're one of those people. And imagine, you don't have to imagine because you did it. Imagine you're thinking about bidding 20, right? If nobody new comes into the auction at 20, is the $15 bidder going to quit or are they going to bid 25? They're going to bid 25, right? They're going to bid 25, then 30, then 35, then 40. And that's why I get to 95 and 100 for every single time I do this, and why I'm going to get to 95 and 100 and beyond for every single time I do this for the rest of my life. And the $95 bidder has a really interesting problem, right? And they're probably struggling with the question of, do they stop at 95 or do they bid $10 more and stop at 105? Because if the person quits at 95, the other person gets the $100 and only loses $5. And the basic decision is, does the bidder invest $10 more to try to recoup the 90? Do they do that? Now, to figure out whether or not that's a good decision, they'd have to have a pretty good probability estimate over the likelihood that the other side is going to quit. And here's the lesson here. If you, Jan, Katie, Alej, everyone, if you'd thought one step ahead, you'd realize that this isn't an auction that you'd want to get involved in, because you don't know what the other person is going to do. And what I'm trying to show is that if you had thought about the decisions of other parties, you would basically identify that you don't want to bid in this auction. I teach this in negotiation. Think one step ahead. And if I do this, what are the possible responses? What do their responses tell me? Because that'll feed back into the offer that I'm willing to make. Right? So what most people do, right, when they get themselves into this mess, or they get themselves into any mess, like the mess of being one of the last bidders in this auction, Katie and Jan. This is not me picking on you. You were an incredible example. What most people do when they get themselves into a mess like this is they tend to escalate their commitment to the mess that they've already gotten themselves into. Right? And that's why I get that 105, that 110, and why I'll get it every single time again when I run this. Right? In this auction, it's the effect of the sunk cost bias that gets people to keep bidding. Once the bid gets to 100 and beyond, people feel like they have to keep bidding, otherwise they're going to lose what they've already put into it. That they'll need to make.
And at that point, you can't be second, right? Like once you're in it that much, you can't be second.
That's it. Because I'm going to lose. I've already invested that, so I've got to actually make sure that I win this. And you keep bidding to make some of this loss up, so they have bid and they keep bidding, and then they're only digging themselves in deeper and only getting into more trouble. Because Katie, that could have gone up to 300. You might have won, but you would have lost 200. If you stopped at 105, you only lose 105. But here's the thing, right? This is the point. If you don't know what the other person is going to do, the best thing for you to do is pull out. That money that you've spent, it's already gone. It's a sunk cost. You can get into a lot more trouble and deep deep waters if you continue to bid without knowing what the other person is going to do. So the best thing to do is to cut your losses. There's nothing you can do about that money. It's gone. It's already spent. It's already gone. But here's the thing, Katie. Jen, here's the thing. We encounter and experience decisions like this of different magnitudes, of course, all the flipping time. And because of how much we've already invested into that experience, we feel a strong compulsion to see it through to its end. We feel that we've invested just too much to quit. I can't quit, not now. And we make decisions that justify past choices. Like when we stay on the phone with our bank advisor for a long period of time, or for the bank we're trying to call for a long period of time. Do we stay on the line? I've already spent 40 minutes waiting. I've got to keep waiting now. Otherwise that 40 minutes will have been for nothing. That 40 minutes is already gone, my friend. Do we invest more money into that old boiler and heating system that is on its last legs, or that old car? Do we keep reading a book that is not enjoyable? It's terrible. Do we stay in a dead-end relationship because we've already put 4 years of our lives into this relationship? This sunk cost bias, it is incredibly pernicious. And the lesson is that we can't cling to flawed decisions. Again, we find ourselves in situations every day where things aren't going as expected, or going our way, or even going well. And we know that those things aren't going to get better or turn out well. But we persist with them because we've already invested our efforts. We've already invested our energy into them. And once we've invested into something, whether it's time, effort, energy, money, we have a hard time setting that investment aside or just giving up on that investment. And as a result, we continue with it. Now, we don't want to lose what we've already invested, so we throw and invest more time, more effort, more energy, more money into that dead-end thing, hoping to get the best out of it, and hoping that things are going to turn out differently. Now, this can lead to a lot of wasted time and effort. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. I'm sure that maybe this has happened for you at some point, in some points, many times in your life. Who can resonate with this? Or should all of us, right? Anybody have an example of how this has played out in their lives, where the sunk cost bias has really got to them? Might have been a relationship.
I think we've done this. This is Katie. And the thing that keeps hitting me in the face is I do this with people, with teammates, with members of our team. When I'm just like, I've already invested a year in you. I've already, and I hang on way too long.
Katie, maybe that's the sign that you've invested so much, you've tried to coach them, but if they haven't demonstrated what you're wanting, expecting from them, maybe then, although it's difficult because you have spent that time, maybe then the decision is actually then it's clear, quite obvious they're not the right fit. But it's difficult because you have invested that time. But the thing, Katie, that time's already gone. You can't change that. You can only waste more of your time coming up. The point is that in many aspects of life, folks, the existence of a past investment, it doesn't mean we should continue on the same path. And in fact, in a rational world, the prior investment, that's irrelevant. It's a sunk cost. It's gone, whether we failed or succeeded. What's more relevant, Katie, is our prediction of value in the future. And sometimes looking just at the future is the right things to do, right thing to do, right? We should look at things from the point of view of the here and now, right now, not the there and then. And I want you to think about this right now, right? Of a time when you followed through on something just because you'd already invested time, effort, or money into it. And I want you to think about how that's going to change now. What I want you to do now is I'm going to put a movie on. You're going to watch a movie. It's a very short movie, but this is my favorite movie that's ever been made. My favorite movie of all time, right? So I love this movie. If you've seen it, just sit back and watch. Don't comment, don't contribute. But basically, there's a task attached to this, right? And again, this is really important. Imagine your job rests on this. You've given this as a big instruction for your work. There are 3 players in white t-shirts that'll be passing a basketball to each other. And your job is to count how many times they pass the ball to each other. And there are 3 players in dark black t-shirts passing a different basketball to each other. So no player in white is going to pass to a player in black and vice versa. And no matter how much you guys might want to talk about it later at the end of this call, I will never get into any discussion to do with the players in the dark t-shirts. They're only there to distract you from your main goal, to interfere with your task, which is to count the number of passes between the white t-shirts. And it's really important you get this right, that you count the passes correctly, right? Big imperative for work. You got it? Thumbs up with instructions? Okay, perfect. So let's get ready to count and watch my favorite movie that's ever been made. How many passes? Throw out, unmute yourselves, throw out some numbers, folks. This is the fun part. What do we get?
I got 5, but I'm probably wrong.
Well, I don't know who said that, but you're definitely wrong. Whoever's, I'm just, you are
That
wrong.
was me.
Rebecca, it's okay. I love that you jumped in. And thank you for jumping in. Let's go throw out some numbers, folks. Cam?
9. I got 8.
11.
9,
I
11,
got 10.
10.
I think maybe 15. I don't know. It feels high though.
I would love to know who said 15 because
Kristen.
Kristen, you and I need to talk after this call, right? I don't know where 15 came. I don't even know where Kristen is. I can't even see Chris, but 15, you and I are going to talk. Okay. Let me tell you, did anybody notice anything different, interesting or unusual about this video? And if you did, just say yes. Don't tell me what it was. Kristen, was it you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why you counted 15, my friend, because there was something weird going on. We'll talk afterwards, Kristen. I want to get an insight and a peek into your brain that counts 15 passes. But there's something interesting that happened in this video. The correct answer, who said 11? Someone said 11. Tom said 11. The correct answer is 11. And there's only one person in this room that got it, which is really interesting because I thought it's simple task. Count the passes. Wasn't that difficult? 11 passes. Tom, congratulations. You get a special gift at the end of the class. But what I want to do now is I want you to watch this movie again. And this time, just sit back and enjoy. Don't count anything. Just sit back and watch the video and enjoy watching my favorite movie that has ever been made. Okay? Kristen, what did you see?
There's a lady that walks through the middle with an umbrella, right?
There's a lady that's in an umbrella. What the flip's going on? How many of you noticed that in the first time? None of you. Kristen, did you notice it?
I've done similar activities like this before, so I was kind of expecting it.
You're probably expecting the gorilla. A lot of people have seen the gorilla video.
I've seen the gorilla before, so I was like,
so
I wasn't expecting the umbrella.
Yeah, so Dan Gilbert's the one that does the study, and he studied with this guy. And so he did the gorilla experiment. And I've done this video. This is the original one. And people, they've come to me at the end saying, yeah, I saw the gorilla in the middle. I saw the gorilla in the video. So they're imposing their own expectations on a video that doesn't even exist. But this is interesting. I want to unpack what's going on here. A lot of you missed that. And a lot of you were probably dumbfounded and flabbergasted. Normally about 5% of people see the gorilla, see the lady in the umbrella. But here's the thing. I've never taught this exercise and had somebody count correctly and at the same time see the lady with the umbrella. Never. And the fact that people miss this lady, even when they're trying to count, even when you miss counting, it's quite staggering for me. I'm flabbergasted. I was when I first watched this video. And all of you, like, people can't believe, they're shocked that they missed something so obvious. I did this recently and had people's mouths were at the floor. Like, how did I miss that? It's a person with the umbrella in the middle of that. It's not like they were on the side. They were in the middle of that group. And I want to unpack this for you right now. Like a couple of you, I think there was one person there. I correctly counted when I first did this exercise. I got 11 passes. But I completely missed the woman with the umbrella. And it's fair to say that the fact that I missed the woman in the umbrella has become an obsession of mine over the last 10 or so years. It's become an obsession of mine ever since I did this video, ever since I first did and saw it. And it's bothersome for me. It's really bothersome for me. And it's bothersome for me. Part of the reason is that I actually think it describes my behavior pretty well. right? Like a lot of you, not only am I focused, I've been focused in my life, right? But I've actually gone through life thinking that my focus was a very, very good thing, a very useful thing. And it probably is a good thing, right? It allowed me to do and achieve certain things. It allowed me to get to certain places in my life, this focus. But the question is, and the question that really hit me after I watched this video, is this thing that's good, does it come with a really bad side effect? That is, are there things that you don't notice? You don't notice what's going on outside your periphery because of this focus. And is it possible to both focus and notice the information around us? And for me, I come up with lots of examples to demonstrate this that are quite important. And on the trivial side, I remember growing up, right? I had two younger sisters, and when I got my license as a teenager, I would often have to pick them up and drop them to their after-school activities, their extracurricular activities. And it happened a lot of times, right, that I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And my mum and dad, they would call me up and they would tell me I was late. Like, where are you? Like, your sisters are waiting for you. You need to pick up your sisters. Why wasn't I where I was supposed to be? And I'd tell my parents, like, what do you mean you told me? You didn't tell me. If you'd have told me, I'd have remembered. And then I saw this video. Right? It doesn't actually prove anything, but it raises the possibility that maybe I was too busy in my own world, focusing on my books, my reading, my magic tricks, and my cricket, that I didn't notice all of the things that were going on around me. So the question is, folks, do we focus on the subset of information in front of us and forget to stop and ask what are the key threats and challenges that are confronting us on a fairly regular basis? And I think that a lot of managers and executives, business owners, entrepreneurs are guilty of exactly that. That we don't think enough about the broader picture. We don't think enough about the information that nobody told us to think about. Right? Now, a lot has been written and researched about 9/11. A lot of people have their own versions, but I'll tell you a very simple version. That in the late 90s, right, the US government knew that there were people who didn't like them very much. Right? There'd already been hijacking attempts, and you could board airplanes with small weapons. Right? We knew that. Many of the investigative entities concluded that the US intelligence community, they failed to detect signs that a massive terrorist attack would take place. Many different agencies had bits of information that could have helped detect the attacks, but that information was never shared or integrated properly. And if you connect all of those dots, and if you put all of those dots together, it's just not very difficult to imagine what happened in 9/11. So there were a lot of years to fix the problems. And part of the reason we didn't was that it wasn't anybody's job to think about multiple airplanes running into the side of buildings. But maybe it should have been. Maybe it should have been somebody's job to look out for the things that could have happened. And what I'm arguing is that it's your jobs as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as family members, to look out for the threats and opportunities that are out there. The things that nobody asked you or told you to look out for. The lady in the umbrella. And how do you do that, right? Find people who are going to open you up to alternative viewpoints and open you up to diversity of thought. Seek the counsel that is going to allow you to think outside the box to see what isn't right in front of you. That's going to be key. Do what Juliana's done and get me to give you a lesson on it. Right? That was a joke that normally gets a little bit of laughter. Right? Seek out that counsel. This is referred to as inattentional blindness, right? Bounded awareness. Not seeing the lady with the umbrella, not being aware of our surroundings. Now, certainly the ability to focus narrowly on a problem, that's a critical skill set, right? Hyperfocus. It's a critical skill that allows us to complete many tasks effectively and efficiently. But the research on bounded awareness should cause you to wonder what you might have missed during periods of intense focus. When you're busy estimating one piece of information, are you ignoring something else? Are you missing something else? I want you to take a look at this diagram. Right? And what I want you to do, without lifting your finger or your pencil from the paper, imagine you have pencil on a paper, imagine just doing your finger. I want you to try and draw 4, and only 4 straight lines that connect all 9 dots here. Try doing that. Take a minute and see if you can do it. See Juliana struggling and she kind of just did a damn it. Try doing it. You should all try and be doing this thing in the screen.
I've done it before.
This is even the best part about this is that I give this problem to lots of people, some of the smartest people in the world, and they can't solve it. And even those who I've shown it to before, Juliana, when I show it to them a couple of months later, they forget how to do it. Because most people, they attempt to apply their logical decision-making skills to the problem that's in focus, connecting all 9 dots. And this is what they try and do. They try and kind of move left to right, up and down, back to front. They're common attempts. Let me show you the solution. And if you put yourselves on mute, I'm going to hear an audible groan of aha. This is the aha moment for you. Juliana, can you give me that aha, just so it's for effect?
Aha.
See? There's always that audible groan of acknowledgement. What happens, Juliana, is people have created a boundary. They've confined themselves to rules and constraints that aren't there. Right? This is the visual representation of thinking outside the box. I never told you to keep your pencil within the bounds imposed by the 9 dots. And once people become aware of the space outside the area of the dots, the solution is very easy. It's simple to achieve. But why do we do this, right? Boundaries, right? Boundaries created by our minds eliminate the solution. We impose limitations on our surroundings and we constrain ourselves to limitations that aren't there. We need to be able to think outside the box, folks, quite literally, and not filter out information that can help us see the bigger picture, the whole picture, the information that is important to us. All right, what I want to do, and I want to go over this next bias and uncover something else. I want to play a game, and the rules of the game, and this will be to finish us. Might go a couple of minutes overboard. So for those who are able to stick around, please do, because I think you'll find this game really interesting.
Yeah, and if anyone has, oh, sorry, Hassan. And if anyone has a hard stop, we totally get it. You know, just to, and just before you do that, if you do have a hard stop and you're out, proposal challenge is in Slack, and our next Tinker Talk will be on April 28th. So, but anyone who wants to stick around, yay.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Juliana. Okay, so here's the game. I have a sequence of 3 numbers that you see on the screen, 2, 4, and 6. And those 3 numbers, they conform to a simple rule. And only I know what this rule is, right? Your job is to guess the rule that I'm thinking about, right? So it could be numbers going up by 2. That could be my rule. So the way that you do this is that you give me other sequences of 3 numbers that you think follow my rule. So for example, 8, 10, and 12. And then I'll say yes or no, those numbers follow my rule or not. And then you'll tell me what you think the rule is. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if it does. Perfect. Who wants to go first? Unmute yourselves and jump in with a sequence of 3 numbers. Let's go as fast paced as we can. Let's get half a dozen or so.
8.
One at a time. Let's go. Whoever it was. Someone said 8 or
8.
Well, you got to give me a sequence of 3 numbers, right?
8, 10, 12.
Yes, that follows my rule. What do you think the rule is?
Even numbers going up.
No, but good guess. Let's go. Who's next?
Um,
Come on, folks. Throw out.
can I give you a different rule?
Well,
So
you
you
got to
take
give
the
me
first-
you got to give me a sequence of 3 numbers first, and then you guess what the rule is. A sequence of 3 numbers that you think follows my rule, or follows the rule. Or
3, 4, 7.
3, 4, 7. Yes. Do you want to guess what the rule is? Whoever that was. Maybe you didn't follow the instructions, or they didn't register. 3, 4, 7. That follows my rule. What do you think the rule is?
The rule is to add the first 2 numbers and the sum would be the last number.
Very good guess, but incorrect. If that was you, Alan.
Can we do 3,
was
4,
me.
7 and say that the rule is that the first letter of the number is the same?
Great guess, but no. 3, 4, 7 follows my rule. Yes, but no for what is my rule. Come on, folks, jump in.
What about 12, 24, and 48?
Correct. That does follow my rule. What's the rule?
Just times the next number by 2.
Oh, no. Great guess, but no.
Thank you.
Let's go a couple more. Come on, folks. Nobody's, a few people haven't even tried Juliana. What are you sitting on the sidelines? We don't do that.
1,
here.
1, 1.
No.
Oh, okay.
Forcing a no. Nice technique.
Ah.
This is the perfect time because you guys are going a bit slow as well and conscious of time. Perfect time to explain what's going on, right? We had a half a dozen or so, maybe even more attempts. Don't throw anything at me. Don't swear at me for this, but the rule is whole numbers increasing. Whole numbers increasing. And again, I've never had a single person who's guessed that rule after all of these years of me teaching this. Whole numbers increasing. Why is this interesting? Why am I playing this game? Why are we doing this in a session on decision-making, biases and traps? When people play this game, and thank you, fearless leader Juliana, for throwing out that last one, because that's what I really want to focus on. When people play this game, people think that it's numbers going up by 2 or going up by itself, or they throw out 3, 6, 9 or 6, 8, 10. They come up, this is what they do. They come up with a hypothesis, and then they throw out suggestions for the rule that will confirm that hypothesis. Now, it took me more than half a dozen guesses before Juliana threw out a guess that I said no to, that I said no to a sequence. Why is this important? Why is that important?
Because you can't detect the pattern otherwise, right?
But why can't I detect the pattern? Why is me saying no to a sequence important?
I mean, it could just be yes. You say yes because 3 numbers were included, right? That could have been the rule.
There's something more at play here, Jan.
I mean, I came up with a super complex way of doing it that didn't work with one of the examples that you said yes to. So
yeah, but let me unpack this. Right? Let me unpack this. What most people do when they have a hypothesis about something or an idea about something, what we all do is and what you all did, you demonstrated this in real time, is we look for evidence to confirm that our hypothesis is right. And here's the thing, right? If you thought it was numbers going up by themselves, you went 8, 10, 12. You looked for evidence to confirm that you're right. And folks, here's the thing. The world is so complex. There's so much data and information out there. If you go out there looking for information to confirm that you're right, chances are you're going to find it. And you know what? Far more useful than confirming evidence is disconfirming evidence. If you thought the rule was numbers going up by 3, Jan, you could have chosen numbers that went up by 2 or numbers that went backwards. And if I said yes to those or no to those, you'd know that your hypothesis was wrong. It would have been far more helpful if people had sought out examples or made guesses that might have disproven their initial hypothesis, instead of seeking out examples and information that would confirm their beliefs and hypothesis. And this is a cognitive error that human beings make all the time. And this is what happens in real life. You just proved it. We seek out information that is consistent with and ignore information that is in contrast to our personal thoughts and beliefs. We develop a hypothesis, then look for confirmation, either in the data that was already up there or data that we can quickly collect. We go looking for every bit of information that will confirm our view. And like I said earlier, folks, the world is so complex and full of information that if you're looking for specific information, chances are you're going to find it. And what happens is we get 1 or 2 pieces of confirming information and we think we know the answer. Yeah, that tells me that I'm right. Now, in your real world life, you're going to have an entire group of people devoted to providing you with confirming evidence. We call them employees. We call them subordinates. And they have a habit of saying, boss, you're right. This is right. You're right. That's a great idea. And what I would argue is that the world is filled with confirming information. If that's what you're looking for, even when you're wrong, far more useful than confirming data would be disconfirming data. So if your hypothesis is numbers going up, increasing numbers, well, negative numbers might seem like a good thing to try. And it turns out that the disconfirming information is often there. We never go about looking for it. And this is what I want you to remember and take away from this, right? Folks, it has to be your job to open yourself up and find that diversity of thought, to seek counsel from people who aren't just going to give you the information that you're looking for, but who will provide you with perspective. This could be one of the most crucial things you ever do. The most crucial things you ever do. Find somebody, something, or somewhere that's going to give you perspective. I just want you to think about this. Just a little reflection at the end. How do you react when your viewpoint is challenged? Where might you fall victim to the confirmation bias in your life? What we just discussed. That's it, confirmation bias. Personal life, work life, or some of the other traps that we've just spoken about today, tonight. How are you going to bring in alternative points of view to be able to see other perspectives in your world?
Anybody impatient? That helpful?
So Jen, yeah. Right, so have a think about that. I've given you a taste tonight about some of the biases and traps that get in the way of effective decision making. And you should be thinking about all of these things now. I've literally spent an hour going through a couple of them. There's a dozen of these. We could spend 5 days on all of this stuff. But what I hope you're doing now is just thinking about things in a different way. Right? Because every single one of us, we're conditioned to see the world in a distorted way. And we're constantly led astray because of our environment, because of our experiences, because of our histories, and the way the human brain processes information. We're biased in so many ways. And this can be a destructive force in our lives, sometimes leading to catastrophic results. It's even more critical when the stakes are higher, when you're in charge, because there's a greater risk of getting caught up in a psychological trap. And this can be damaging to our goals, to our ambitions, to our next steps. But here's the whole point, right? This is why it's such high leverage and so important, this particular session, even if it's just a scratching of the surface. By learning and understanding how these traps work and how they take shape, you can start to navigate around them and prevent yourself from falling victim to their negative effects. It's just an intro, but hopefully what you can do now is start to think about how you avoid falling victim to some of the ones that we've spoken about, and how you can open yourself up to more effective, more high quality decisions in your life. Because that's the goal, right?
I suspect, Juliana, that every single owner you've ever worked with, it gets impatient and views this as inefficient use of their time rather than helpful. I'll bet you have 100%.
Of what? Of decision making?
People making, about people not responding well when their viewpoints are challenged in ways that
When
would be
viewpoints
constructive
are
to them.
challenged. Yeah, it could be.
I'll bet every single owner that's overwhelmed is looking for efficiency. Employee brings up something that seems tangential and they just discount it.
Yeah, and I think also to your point, Jen, it's not only how they bring it up, like it's not only that they're bringing up something, right? Like but it's also how they bring it up, right? So when employees, whether you want to call it managing up or holding leadership accountable or whatever, right? If someone is bringing challenges without solutions, I think that's the most annoying thing, right? It's like, because you're like, well, great, thank you for pointing out all the shit that's not working. Right? Like as an owner, but it's also like if it's lacking critical thinking, right? If it's just pinpointing the issues without bringing any sort of thought around solutions, I think sometimes that's where owners get the most I'm going to use the word annoyed.
Yeah. So I think that's true. And if somebody pointed this out to me and said, you made this decision and this is one of the assumptions that went into it, and I'm not sure that assumption's right, I would instantly perk up. I would be totally interested. If they just said, here's an assumption and I'm not sure that's right, I would be like, cool. But if they just say, oh, this, you thought this would be the coolest thing ever and this client over here doesn't like it today, I'm like, ugh. If it's presented to me as anecdotal instead of presented to me as a formula or an algorithm or an assumption change, I have no interest in hearing about, they could have had a bad lunch, right? And they didn't like something. But if an employee came and presented it to me as a method or an assumption, I'd be way more receptive to at least thinking about what they're saying versus just instantly shutting it down due to their chatterboxiness or whatever.
Yeah. And so, Hassan, I guess the question for you would be like, if we were to coach our teams, right? Like, hey, when you want to bring, something that is off, right? Like, or you want to challenge like a solution, like what's a great way to coach them to do that? As opposed to just generic, like, hey, here's how you get feedback, right?
Because
And
I
you're
know
on mute,
every
Liz.
single one of us shuts this stuff down out of information overwhelm. I do this all the time, even though I am aware of and trying not to. Is there some way
And
that
Hassan, you're on mute.
a trigger word or something to tell
So
me to
what-
pay attention?
The actual question, like, how do we bring constructive feedback to the people that are our bosses, that we
How do we
No, that
coach-
are employees.
How do we coach our employees to deliver feedback to us in a way that we're going to understand as a bias rather than just complaints about lunch?
Well, the problem from our vantage point is that a lot of the times they're not going to come and give you and deliver feedback because you haven't created the conditions and the culture for them to feel comfortable doing it. And the way that you do that is that you send signals. You make them feel like they're safe. You make them feel like they belong. Right? And that sounds very simple. It sounds on the surface. I'll give you an example, right? Just imagine, and I'll throw this scenario out there. Imagine you're standing at a train station and it's raining outside, right? And the train's about to come. Somebody comes up to you and says, can I borrow your mobile phone? What are you going to say? What would you say, Jen?
Come close to me under my umbrella so I know you're not going to run, and then you go.
Yeah, you're not. You'd be wary about what that person is going to do, right? Jen, I can't hear you, Jen. Yeah, you'd be wary about them running away with your phone. Imagine a different scenario. Very few people, especially if you're American or New Yorkers, you're going to say, no, get away. I'm not giving you my phone. Now, imagine a second scenario, right, where somebody comes up to you, it's raining outside, and they come up to you and they say, I'm so sorry about the rain. Can I borrow your mobile phone? Do you think that'll change your response? A lot of people say, not really, because I'm still having to hand my phone over to them, right? I'm still having to give them an expensive piece of kit and trust that they're not going to run away with it. Definitely. This was studied by one of my professors, and would you believe that in that second scenario, people who gave the phone, the numbers increased by 500%. 500% in that second scenario. The only difference is those words, I'm so sorry about the rain. What that served as was an unmistakable signal that this is a safe space to connect. This is a safe place to connect. And as a result, that other person handed over their phone because of that connection. So I would throw this back at you. If somebody isn't coming to you, telling you that this is the red herring, this is the lady in the umbrella, this is the way I think you're wrong, then we are failing. It's our responsibility as leaders to create the conditions that give them the comfort, the safety to feel like they can do that. And you do that by sending everyday signals, making them feel safe, making them feel like they belong. That's how you establish culture. That's how you establish the culture that gets people comfortable to take those solutions to you. And that's a long process. Like, we can go through, that could be another session, like on belonging safety, on psychological safety, on culture. You master that, right? You're able to bring in alternative viewpoints. And the first step could be sitting down with these people, having a one-to-one and saying, I value you so much, right? I'd love for you to continue to give me feedback. What's a way that you could improve, that I could improve? What's something that I do that you'd like me to do more of? What's something that I do that you'd like me to do less of? Laszlo Bock, he's the chief people analytics of Google. He used to be. And he says that those are the three questions you should always ask the people who work under you. What do you want me to continue to do? What do I do that you really enjoy? What would you like me to change? That's the start, Jen. I hope that helps, or at least opens you up in a little way.
You know, and Jen, for your, you know, and something to just offer, right? Like for your style of management, as I know it's evolving right now, you know, you can ask, right? Like if they're coming to you with unwanted, unsolicited feedback, right? As it might feel sometimes, it could be like, okay, why do you think that? Walk me through your thought process. Or what is your assumption that tells you that, right? Or what assumptions do you think I'm making? That, you know, so it's just not, so it doesn't feel like it's just a pokey. Because sometimes that's what, or at least I know that's how sometimes it feels for me. Right, like, you know, so that way you're training their behavior to give you feedback in a more formulaic way that you will listen to it. Hassan, would you say that's pretty fair?
Yeah,
Or
and what I
add to
would
that?
say is, what I would say in those situations is, you want to, and Chris Voss talks about this as well, like don't ask people why they're doing something or why they've done something, why they're coming. Ask, instead of asking why, ask how and what. We call those calibrated questions. Right? Yeah, exactly. They're open-ended questions that are particularly powerful. And you can manage conversations in a really beautiful way when you use this well, right? It's the secret to getting the upper hand in that type of relationship, or to kind of nudging it in a really constructive way. And what it does, people love to be asked what instead of why they're doing something. Why makes them defensive. It makes them feel accused. When you ask them what was the thought process behind that? How did you arrive at that? Instead of why is that something that you came up with? It makes all of the difference. It also makes the other side feel in charge, even though you're the one still controlling the narrative of the conversation. Right? If you can get the other side to drop their unbelief, which is what Kevin Dutton calls this. He said that's the genius of this technique. It's the active resistance to what the other side is saying, that complete rejection, which is what why brings. You get them to drop their unbelief, you can slowly work them towards a point of view that is constructive. And that's positive energy, right? So what and how, that should be your reference point. What and how questions.
So I was with a client, which is why I'm in a hotel room, yesterday, and we related as being business owners and running businesses and having employees getting overwhelmed and not raising their hand and asking for help. And by relating it to the employee doing this, they were literally said this employee doesn't do their job well and they don't understand our business, where we're specializing in a certain niche. And the exact same employee has gotten the exact opposite feedback from other clients. And so I was able to ask what happened for them, but by relating to, he also had employees that got overwhelmed and were not asking for help. And just saying that's what I was hypothesizing was the problem. And then he could relate that he had somebody with that problem. And then I could tell him that very employee had gotten the opposite feedback from one of the top companies in the industry, that she was great and really did understand the solar business. And so that initial relating got us to this other side where it just opened his mind that it wasn't that she was terrible or we were horrible. It was that this other problem happened. Anyway, so Chris Voss move in there somewhere around there. So thank you. I'm processing, obviously. So
no, I can see that, and I would imagine so, and I hope so. And we fit a lot in. But then it's always just the start, right, Juliana?
Of course. And in the chat, Jan, if you haven't read it, and anybody else who's looking at belonging signals, a quickie read that I really like is Culture Code. They talk a lot about belonging signals and some of that stuff, that Hassan's been chatting about in terms of like making people feel like they can come to you, or to anyone in the organization, really, and have a more creative, more collaborative sense of self.
So the only thing I got from the Culture Code is that the high performing cultures where psychological safety is emphasized actually matters to the bottom line. I got that from Culture Code. I did.
How long ago did you read it?
2 years.
You've done a lot of work since then.
So maybe I could read it again, but are there actual, like, what do you do differently things in there? Because
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
every chapter has
I
like
thought it was super.
tactical stuff.
Okay.
And so I think where you're at, and Hassan might, because he's full of books, like you might have a different book as well, but culture code is like one of those things that you read, and you're like you get something different out of it depending on where you're at in terms of your awareness and understanding.
It's it's the fantastic one when it comes to culture for me. It's the one.
So the one I like the best is An Everyone Culture by Robert Keegan, where
Mhm.
you're developing a deliberately developmental organization.
Yeah, Robert Keegan's great as well. That's a really good one.
So it's taking self-authoring into an org level,
Yeah.
but also loose on tactics. So
Yeah, this one's like, if you actually pay attention to like every chapter is like really like tactical. And so I would consider maybe just like even reading some summaries on it, just because to refreshen you.
it's super short. So I might just go
Mhm.
over it again, but when I went through the first time,
I think you were in a different headspace though.
yeah, totally.
I would suggest.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed today. So I'm gonna jump off. I think you guys
Yes, absolutely.
be in this community. It looks like an awesome little space that you've got, Juliana. Thanks for having me. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you
Yes,
so
thank
much.
you so much.
I
You're welcome.
really appreciate it. Thank you so much for staying over. For everybody else,
You're welcome, Lindsay. Thank you. You're welcome, everyone.
yes.